Let me tell you a truth. Few people dare to speak. Love is not a currency you beg for. It's not something you plead to keep once life has passed you by. Most people grow old chasing affection, approval, or attention from the wrong hearts and end up lonely. Not because they lacked love, but because they gave it to those who didn't deserve it. The ones who age gracefully, who feel fulfilled in their later years, they don't beg, they don't chase, they don't settle. They love themselves first. They choose wisely. They live fully. So when love comes, it's not a plea. It's a gift they welcome, not a need they demand. Don't spend your golden years asking for what should have been given freely. Master this truth now, and your later life will be defined by dignity, joy, and love that honors you. Today, I want to share why it is never too late to reclaim your dignity, strengthen your spirit, and attract the right kind of love. The kind that honors you, uplifts you, and never asks you to beg. The first key point is that love is a byproduct, not a demand. So many of us grow up thinking that if we just ask enough, if we just sacrifice enough, if we just wait long enough, love will arrive like a gift on our doorstep. But real love is never delivered through a plea. It cannot be weighed on a scale of effort or timed by a calendar. It is the shadow of the life you live, the echo of the values you carry, and the quiet signal of your self-respect. When you chase it like a rationed resource, it slips through your fingers. When you live in a way that honors yourself and others, it arrives naturally, often from directions you never anticipated. Think of love as sunlight. You cannot drag sunlight into a closed room by asking it to shine. You have to open the windows, clear the clutter, and cultivate a space where it can enter freely. The brightness will come on its own. You don't force it, and yet it nourishes everything it touches. The same is true for love. It thrives not in desperation, but in openness, in integrity. Lives built with intention. The doors you create today, through small acts of courage, honesty, and care, become the rooms where love will eventually linger. Begging or pleading only keeps the windows closed, leaving you in a shadow that is entirely avoidable. Many people confuse sacrifice with love. They offer themselves until there is nothing left, hoping the emptiness will be noticed, hoping someone will finally commit to filling the void. But love cannot be the solution to your own lack of self-worth. Giving is sacred, but it must be rooted in fullness, not deficiency. When you try to earn affection as a remedy for your insecurities, it becomes transactional and brittle. Real love is drawn to the energy of someone who is already complete in small, imperfect ways. It resonates with a life that is lived with intention, not with a hunger that screams for validation. Look at the relationships around you and notice how the strongest ones are rarely the loudest. They are the ones that grew quietly over years of consistent presence, the ones built on gestures so small they almost seem invisible at the time. A handwritten note, remembering a trivial detail. A simple "I see you" when the world is blind to their struggle. These moments are deposits in a bank of trust, integrity, and warmth. Over time, love accumulates here. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be borrowed. It can only be built steadily, quietly, persistently. Those who try to force it often miss the richness that patience and intentionality can create. Your character is the signal that attracts love, long before you ever speak a word. Are drawn to the consistency of your choices, the way you treat yourself when no one is watching, the courage with which you navigate hardship. A life lived with integrity acts like a magnet for genuine connection. Conversely, when you chase affection, hoping to patch over flaws or insecurities, you signal neediness rather than wholeness, desperation rather than vitality. Love responds to life lived fully, not to a voice crying from the depths of want. It's tempting to think that earning love is about performing, about putting on the right mask, about matching what someone else expects. But every mask eventually cracks. And when it does, the foundation of your relationships trembles. True love is drawn to authenticity, to the raw, unpolished self that refuses to shrink in order to be accepted. It thrives in spaces where vulnerability meets integrity, not in the anxious theater of performance. When you accept that love comes as a byproduct of how you live, you start to measure yourself not by someone else's attention, but by the depth of your honesty, the courage of your convictions, and the kindness you extend without expectation. The most profound freedom comes when you stop begging for love and start building the life that naturally generates it. Focus on being the kind of person whose presence itself invites care, whose voice itself encourages trust, whose actions themselves cultivate connection. Work on curiosity, empathy, humor, and patience. Invest in the people and passions that expand your soul. Slowly you will notice a pattern. The more you focus on living fully, the less you need to ask for love, and the more love arrives anyway, from places you never imagined, in forms you never demanded, carrying a quiet strength that no plea could ever summon. The second key point is that you must build your inner home first. Too often we look outward for comfort, for validation, for a sense of safety, as if someone else's hands could hold together the pieces of our fractured self. But the truth is, no one else can do this for you. If your identity, your confidence, your peace lives in someone else's approval, the moment they falter, you crumble. The first walls you need to construct are not made of bricks, but of understanding yourself, of knowing your limits, your fears, and the quiet strengths you often overlook. Only then does any external love become a welcome visitor rather than a desperate lifeline. Imagine your mind as a house. If it is cluttered with self-doubt, resentment, and constant comparison, no guest can ever feel welcome there. You have to sweep the floors of old habits that weigh you down. You have to polish the windows of self-reflection so you can see clearly where you are and where you're heading. This is not a one-time cleanup, it is daily maintenance, small rituals of awareness that keep your foundation solid. When you live in such a home, your sense of self does not depend on who stays or who leaves, because the house itself is already sturdy and full. Many of us confuse independence with isolation. We think being self-reliant means shutting out everyone else. But building your inner home is not about locking the doors. It is about creating a space so inviting that you can choose who enters and who stays. It is about feeling complete enough to enjoy company, yet secure enough to be alone. When you are comfortable in your own presence, silence no longer terrifies you. Solitude becomes a sanctuary where you replenish your energy, listen to your own voice, and cultivate clarity. In that clarity, decisions are no longer desperate, they are deliberate. A strong inner home is also grounded in forgiveness, both for others and yourself. Holding grudges or replaying past mistakes is like letting water seep into the foundation of your house. Over time, it weakens your structure, leaving you vulnerable when storms arrive. Learn to forgive, not because others always deserve it, but because your inner walls must remain intact. Only a home without rot can withstand the pressures of life and love. Only a self that has released unnecessary weight can extend warmth without trembling. Attention to your inner home means noticing the small corners of your mind and heart where dust accumulates. What thoughts do you entertain at night? Which beliefs keep you awake with anxiety or regret? Cleaning these corners is as essential as any grand gesture. Meditation, reflection, journaling, or even quiet walks are tools to sweep the corners of your psyche. Each act strengthens the beams of self-trust and self-love, creating a place where no external demand can destabilize you. You begin to understand that peace is not outside, it is cultivated within, one conscious action at a time. The relationships you nurture with yourself dictate every other connection you have. If you speak to yourself harshly, the echoes will follow you into every conversation, every interaction. If you allow yourself respect, patience, and care, you set the tone for the world around you. Your inner home becomes a filter, a compass, and a boundary. People do not see walls as limitations, they see strength. They are drawn to the confidence that radiates from someone who is whole within, not someone frantically seeking affirmation to fill an invisible void. Finally, building your inner home is about trust. Trust in your own judgment, trust in your own resilience, trust in the fact that even when everyone else leaves, you are still standing. Life is unpredictable. People will falter, circumstances will change, and plans will collapse. But if your foundation is strong, you will meet these challenges without begging for stability, without sacrificing your dignity. You will walk through the world carrying a quiet assurance that no matter the external chaos, your inner home remains a sanctuary. It is here, in this space, that real love, real connection, and real freedom can begin, not as a desperate plea, but as a natural extension of who you have already become. The third key point is that you must choose companions who add to your story, not rewrite it. Too often, we let people enter our lives and rearrange the furniture of our identity without noticing. We allow their fears, their insecurities, their expectations to occupy rooms that belong solely to us. A relationship should never be about someone reshaping you to fit their comfort. It should be about walking alongside someone who notices your cracks and still admires the light that spills from them. When you invite people into your life, the question is never just who can I love? It is more importantly, who enhances the person I am already striving to become. Think of yourself as a garden. Every relationship is a gardener. Some gardeners bring sun, water, and nutrients that help flowers bloom. Others trample seedlings, pull up roots, or scatter weeds you didn't plant. Your choice of companions determines whether your life flourishes or withers. The right people recognize your soil, your seasons, and your rhythm. They do not demand that you bloom in their timing, nor do they steal your sunlight to feed themselves. They add richness, color, and depth to the life you are already tending with care. Many of us mistake presence for contribution. We hold on to people simply because they are there, because they fill empty hours or quiet nights, because we fear being alone. But presence without nourishment is a hollow thing. Companions who subtract energy, whose words leave bruises, whose judgments make you smaller, are like shadows over the garden. They may be familiar, but familiarity is no substitute for growth. Choosing the right companions requires courage. The courage to let go of anyone who dims your light, even if leaving them behind feels like loss. Notice the subtle signs in every connection. Does this person celebrate your wins, or do they shift the spotlight to themselves? Do they ask questions that matter, or do they fill the silence with distractions? Are they willing to be vulnerable, or do they demand perfection from you? Every interaction sends signals, tiny pulses that indicate whether someone is building with you or against you. The heart is a delicate instrument. It cannot thrive in a home cluttered with noise, envy, or disregard. The companions you choose write the rhythm of your life. So choose those whose presence feels like harmony, not discord. Choosing companions is not just about avoiding harm, it is about adding dimension to your story. The right people expand your perspective, introduce ideas you never considered, challenge you to rise, and support you when the climb is steep. They do not erase your history or impose their narrative, they honor the chapters you have written and encourage the chapters still to come. A meaningful relationship is like a duet. Both voices are strong, both melodies distinct, yet together they create something neither could achieve alone. The wrong companions can be invisible thieves, stealing not with obvious malice, but with subtle erosion. Criticism disguised as advice, casual dismissals, silent comparisons, neglect, they all chip away at your confidence. Over time, these small erosions accumulate, leaving you questioning your worth, doubting your choices, and shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. Choosing companions wisely is the practice of safeguarding your integrity. It is the declaration that your life is not a blank canvas to be painted over. It is a masterpiece in progress, deserving of respect and thoughtful collaboration. True companionship is measured not by proximity, but by resonance. It is not about who spends the most hours with you, but who elevates the quality of your existence. The right companions hold mirrors that reflect your strengths, illuminate your blind spots with compassion, and walk alongside you without trying to reroute your path. They amplify the courage you already carry, rather than highlighting the fears you try to hide. When you choose such companions, your life gains not only love and friendship, but clarity, purpose, and momentum. Every interaction becomes a thread woven into the tapestry of your story, reinforcing your identity rather than unraveling it. The fourth key point is that you must practice small loyalties every day. Loyalty is not announced with grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It is quiet, persistent, often invisible work that accumulates like sediment in the river of trust. Returning a call, keeping a promise, showing up when it would be easier to walk away, these are the bricks that build the walls of dependable connection. The people who count on you do not need spectacle, they need consistency. And over time, that consistency becomes a fortress around your relationships, a protection against the storms that life will inevitably bring. Loyalty begins in the overlooked moments. It is in remembering the small things that matter to someone else. The way they take their coffee, the story they told months ago that still matters, the fear they never voice aloud. When you honor these tiny details, you show more than attention, you show presence. Presence is a currency stronger than words. It tells people that they matter, not for what they give you, but simply for who they are. Each act of remembering, each small kindness repeated, compounds into a legacy of trust that no time or distance can erode. Many of us mistake loyalty for obligation. We think it is something heavy, something that ties us down to people or commitments we resent. But real loyalty is not a chain. It is a reflection of character. It is the alignment between who you say you are and how you act when no one is watching. When you cultivate this alignment daily, you create a life where people feel safe, not because they fear consequences, but because they can rely on you instinctively. Safety built on loyalty feels like a quiet home on a stormy night, a place where hearts can rest without anxiety. Small loyalties also teach patience and humility. You will often find yourself honoring promises when it is inconvenient, when recognition is absent, when gratitude is delayed. These moments are the crucible in which your integrity is forged. Every time you choose loyalty over ease, you reinforce a standard within yourself that you do not bend with every gust of convenience or opinion. This inner standard grows silently but powerfully, shaping not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. Your word becomes a foundation, your actions a testimony, and your presence a calm assurance in an unpredictable world. Loyalty is not blind compliance, it is selective fidelity. It knows when to stand firm and when to walk away. Some connections are not meant to survive, they are tests, lessons, mirrors of your boundaries. Practicing small loyalties does not mean tolerating harm or erasing your dignity. It means distinguishing the moments worth investing in, the people worth nurturing, and the promises worth keeping. This discernment itself is a form of respect for yourself and for those around you. Every thoughtful choice to honor a commitment strengthens the architecture of your character. The quiet acts of loyalty ripple outward in ways we rarely see. A simple gesture, a consistent call, an honest conversation, a gentle word can reshape the trajectory of a relationship more than a dramatic intervention ever could. Others begin to mirror the steadiness you practice, and suddenly, the network of trust you have built is larger than you imagined. This is how love, respect, and connection multiply. Not through grand declarations, but through repeated, intentional actions that say, without words, I am here, I am steady, you are not alone. Ultimately, Practicing small loyalties every day is about honoring the invisible contracts we hold with life itself. It is about showing up not for applause, not for reward, but because integrity matters. When you develop this habit, it becomes a shield and a beacon. In old age, when companionship is scarcer and vulnerability is sharper, it is these small, consistent acts of loyalty that sustain you. The fortress of trust you have, quietly built over years, surrounds you, protecting your peace, nourishing your dignity, and ensuring that the love you give and the respect you command never dissipate, no matter how the world changes. The fifth key point is that you must learn to give without losing yourself. Generosity is often mistaken for endless surrender, a way to earn love or approval. But giving that depletes your own spirit is like pouring water from a cracked pitcher. No matter how much you offer, the essence leaks away before it reaches others. True generosity is not about exhaustion or self-erasure. It is about extending what you have while maintaining the integrity of your own life. It is a balance, a rhythm, a dance between the heart and the self. When you give from fullness, not from a deficit, your acts nourish both the receiver and your own soul. Consider the human heart like a garden. You cannot plant seeds endlessly in other people's plots while your own soil lies barren. If you neglect your own roots, if you fail to tend the spaces that sustain you, every act of giving becomes a strain, a hollow echo. Yet when you cultivate your inner garden first, the generosity you extend carries richness and vitality. It is not transactional or desperate, it carries life. Others feel it, sense it, and it inspires reciprocity. Not because you demand it, but because your presence radiates wholeness and abundance. Many of us fear setting boundaries because we worry it will make us seem selfish. We hesitate. To say no, to pause, or to protect our energy. But boundaries are not selfish. They are the framework of sustainable generosity. Without them, giving becomes borrowing from the future, a debt that eventually demands repayment in exhaustion, resentment, and bitterness. Learning to give without losing yourself means knowing where your limits lie and honoring them consistently. It is not a refusal to help, it is a refusal to erode your own foundation while helping another build theirs. True generosity also requires awareness of intention. Are you giving to fill a void, to silence loneliness, or to manipulate perception? Or are you giving simply because it aligns with your values, your capacity, and your joy? Giving without losing yourself flows naturally from the latter. It is quiet, purposeful, and effortless in its integrity. It does not shout for recognition, nor does it collapse under expectation. Like sunlight, it warms without taking from the source, and it enriches the lives it touches while never leaving you diminished. Giving without losing yourself is also a practice in discernment. Not every request deserves your energy. Not every hand reaching out needs your help, and not every problem is yours to solve. The wisdom to choose what to support, when, and how allows generosity to remain an act of strength rather than a pattern of depletion. The act of discernment itself communicates respect for yourself and for those around you. Signals that your care is intentional, not indiscriminate, and that the love you extend carries meaning because it is anchored in wholeness. When you master this balance, giving becomes transformative rather than transactional. It transforms relationships, communities, and even your own inner world. You notice the subtle ways your energy flows more freely, your presence becomes steadier, and your empathy deeper. You begin to see that generosity is not a commodity to be spent recklessly, but a reflection of character and awareness. It shapes not only how the world responds to you, but also how you respond to the world. You give, but you do not bend. You extend, but you do not collapse. Ultimately, the art of giving without losing yourself is about honoring the sacredness of both your life and the lives of others. It is a practice that asks you to be fully present, fully capable, fully aligned with your own values, while offering warmth, support, and care. When you achieve this balance, you create a life where generosity is effortless, love is abundant, and connection is authentic. You no longer give to be needed, you give because it is an extension of the strength, wisdom, and fullness you have cultivated within yourself, and that energy becomes a beacon that draws others naturally, without compromise, without depletion, and without loss of dignity. The sixth key point is that you must secure your freedom, emotional and practical. So often we tie ourselves to people, situations, or expectations as if dependence is the only path to safety. We convince ourselves that relying on another's approval, attention, or care is the same as being protected. But dependence is a subtle trap. It may feel comforting at first, like leaning on a strong tree, but when storms arrive, that tree can bend, crack, or fall. Freedom, true freedom, is the knowledge that you can stand alone and still thrive. It is the assurance that your life, your choices, and your dignity are never hostage to someone else's whims. Freedom begins with preparation. Financial security, practical skills, and self-sufficiency are not just adult responsibilities. They are declarations of respect for your own life. Being able to pay your own bills, cook your own meals, navigate your own challenges, these are the invisible armor you carry into every relationship. Without it, even love can feel fragile, tinged with anxiety and obligation. When you secure your practical freedom, you remove the silent pressure to beg, plead, or settle. You enter every connection not from scarcity, but from completeness, and that changes the dynamic entirely. Equally important is emotional freedom. Many of us surrender our inner stability to someone else's moods, opinions, or approval. We adapt our behavior, hide our truths, or diminish our dreams to keep others comfortable. Emotional dependence is heavier than any material constraint. It shackles the heart in quiet ways, leaving us fearful, anxious, and ultimately unfulfilled. Learning to regulate your own emotions, to find solace within yourself, is not cold or distant. It is the foundation for authentic connection. Only when you carry your own calm, clarity, and self-respect can your relationships be free of silent coercion or imbalance. Emotional freedom also requires awareness of the subtle compromises we make daily. How often do you excuse hurtful words, tolerate disrespect, or hide resentment because you fear the consequences of honesty? Each concession chips away at your autonomy, eroding your capacity to respond rather than react. Securing freedom means noticing these small invasions and refusing them, not out of rebellion but out of preservation. It is a disciplined commitment to yourself that every choice you make protects your inner life from erosion. True freedom does not mean isolation. It is not a fortress built of walls that keep everyone out. It is a space where you can breathe, think, and act without being tethered to anyone's approval, yet still choose to share your life with those you trust. Friends, partners, mentors, they enter your life as companions, not lifelines. You are free to give, free to receive, free to walk away without fear, and free to stay without obligation. Freedom transforms relationships from contracts of necessity into connections of choice. And in that transformation lies dignity and power. The practice of freedom also cultivates resilience. Life is unpredictable. People leave, circumstances change, and loss is inevitable. When you are dependent, each shift feels catastrophic. When you are free, each change becomes a challenge to navigate, not a threat to your survival. You carry your strength within, and you carry it quietly, without fanfare, without fear. Others may notice or they may not, but you are steady. The storms do not define you, your preparation and inner stability do. Finally, freedom is an act of respect toward your future self. The choices you make today, how you invest in skills, how you regulate emotions, how you protect your boundaries, determine whether you will have to beg, compromise later in life. Securing freedom is not merely practical, it is sacred. It declares that you will not trade your dignity for temporary comfort, that you will not surrender your life to the hands of others, and that you will enter every relationship, every opportunity, and every season of your life from a place of strength. It is the ultimate gift you give yourself, the power to choose, to stand tall, and to live fully, no matter the circumstances. The seventh key point is that you must invest in the next chapter, legacy over loneliness. Too many people spend their lives waiting for someone to fill the empty spaces around them, assuming that companionship will magically appear when the years have already passed. But old age is not a time to beg for presents, it is a time to reap the harvest of what you have sown. The relationships, habits, and contributions you cultivate now are the seeds that will carry you forward long after the moment has passed. Legacy is not about money or status. It is about the echoes of care, wisdom, and intentional action that continue to resonate even when you are no longer the one holding the pen. Legacy begins with attention to small, deliberate acts, mentoring a young mind, teaching a skill to a neighbor, or even spending uninterrupted time with someone who needs it, creates ripples that stretch far beyond the immediate moment. These are not grand gestures meant for recognition, they are quiet deposits into the accounts of meaning, influence, and impact. A single afternoon spent guiding another can outlast years of idle waiting for love or acknowledgement. Each act of conscious contribution compounds, forming a network of connection and purpose that surrounds you in ways no amount of pleading ever could. Investing in the next chapter also requires courage, the courage to look beyond your immediate comfort, to extend yourself into spaces that feel inconvenient or uncertain. It is easy to focus only on your own desires, to protect your time and energy for what is familiar. But the practice of legacy demands a longer view. It asks you to think in terms of years, decades, and the people whose lives will carry fragments of your presence forward. This long-term vision transforms everyday actions into meaningful investments, turning routine moments into enduring influence. Many people underestimate the power of consistency. Legacy is rarely forged in a single act of brilliance. It is crafted through repetition, through the quiet daily commitments that accumulate like water shaping stone. Showing up for someone repeatedly, maintaining a habit of generosity, offering wisdom even when it goes unnoticed. These small, steady acts are what build the framework of influence that will hold strong in the years to come. When you understand that the smallest choices echo into the future, you begin to live with a depth of purpose that transcends the fleeting desire for immediate recognition or affection. The next chapter is also about creating rituals and structures that outlast you. A tradition, a habit, a project that continues to grow after you step away is more enduring than any plea for attention. Planting trees, documenting lessons, recording stories, or teaching values. These are acts that bridge generations. They speak louder than words and last longer than presence. When you focus on constructing such enduring elements, you shift from a mindset of scarcity to abundance, from seeking to giving, and from longing to building. Investing in legacy over loneliness also means embracing the responsibility of your influence. Every interaction, every conversation, every choice you make shapes the world you leave behind. Neglect, bitterness, or inattention to others' growth creates gaps in the network of care and wisdom that you could have built. The power of legacy lies in its intentionality. It is the decision to live in a way that enriches the lives of others, to leave behind a trail of guidance, compassion, and integrity that continues to illuminate even when your own presence fades. Ultimately, investing in the next chapter is an act of love for the self and for the world. It is a declaration that your life is not measured by the company you keep in isolation, but by the difference you make and the light you leave behind. Loneliness loses its grip when your days are spent creating connections, fostering growth, and planting seeds for the future. You learn to measure life not by absence, but by contribution. And in that measure, you discover a profound security and fulfillment. Your legacy becomes a living companion, a network of influence and care that travels with you into old age, shielding your dignity, nourishing your soul, and ensuring that love, earned, given, and nurtured, never has to be begged for. And so, if you take nothing else from this, remember this truth: the life you live today is the home, the garden, and the legacy you carry into tomorrow. You are the architect of your dignity, the gardener of your relationships, and the author of your own story. No one else can write it for you, no one else can protect it for you, and no one else can fill it with the love, respect, and meaning that you are capable of creating. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for someone else's presence to validate your worth. Stand tall, build your inner home, choose your companions wisely, practice loyalty, without losing yourself, secure your freedom, and invest in a legacy that outlives the fleeting seasons of life. When you do this, love will find you. Not because you begged for it, not because you depended on it, but because you became a person worthy of it. And in that truth lies a power far greater than desire, a peace far deeper than need, and a life far more beautiful than any you could have imagined. Begin today. Begin now. Live so fully, so intentionally, and so bravely that your future self looks back and whispers, "Thank you for not waiting, for not begging, and for choosing to honor your life in every moment." That is the path to love, dignity, and a life that truly matters.